Hello, I'm Miles, and welcome to the Bite Size Marketing Podcast. This is an episode in a series that aims to make marketing easy to understand and simple for businesses of any size to implement. I hope you enjoy. Marcus, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. As you probably gathered, we've been having some fun before we got started. So there's a few songs I can't help but dancing to. So why not?
And not a gin and tonic or a martini in sight as yet.
No, absolutely not. Just got my water. It's not vodka, obviously.
Likewise. So the title of this show, Skydiving with Dolphins, has got a lot of people wondering what the bloody hell's going on. So I won't be revealing any secrets, but I think what we should do now is we should really just crack straight into things. I have known Marcus now for quite a while, and he is a very, very interesting chap. I think maybe we might be kindred spirits. But look, for the next, I don't know how long we're going to go for, maybe 45 minutes or so. It's going to be very, very interesting. I'm going to hand over now to Marcus to give us a little rundown as to who he is and what he does. And then we've got a nice little presentation to take you through, which hopefully will have some pictures of you falling out of an aeroplane, clutching a porpoise. I mean,
cool, of course. Well,
right, so Marcus,
thank you for your kind introduction, and hi to everybody watching. I'm so excited that so many of you signed up, and the purpose of today is just to share some ideas with you. I'll tell you towards the end why the whole skydiving with dolphins thing. And I'd like you to have a couple of takeaways. Essentially, this is an extract from a whole day's presentation. The two things I'd like to ask you to consider. I'm going to talk about how and why to tell great stories about why you can. I'm going to share with you the top 10 habits of super successful people and show you a way of how you might want to adopt those. Obviously, I'm going to talk about skydiving with dolphins as well, and how it all came about and what's the point of all that. I'm going to try and make it a bit interactive as much as we can in this style of format and ask you a few questions. But I really hope you go away after these next 40 minutes or so with some ideas that if you were to embrace the philosophy that you are what you think about the most. I'll say it again. You are what you think about the most. Because I found this to be true with everyone I've ever worked with, everyone I've ever read about. The quality of our thoughts in here actually influence the world out there. So we're going to look at how that works. We're going to just examine a little bit about telling stories about who we are. What are the stories we tell ourselves almost every minute of every day? And if they're not great, how can we improve upon them? You might be telling yourself some stories today when you woke up. What was today going to be like? It was going to be a great day, a fantastic day, all sorts of good stuff happening. Or, oh God, I've got this day coming forward. I didn't do that. I didn't do the other. And all of this chatter, this information, these stories go from our conscious brains into our subconscious brains, which then affects the reality of what's out there. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I hope there'll be a Q&A at the end. If you've got any questions, I think there's a place you can ask those as we go. Miles will kindly share those at the end, and I'll try and answer anything that anyone has to ask.
Yes, fantastic. Well, I am definitely looking forward to this, Marcus. I can see that there are a lot of people online. So if you have any specific questions you'd like to ask around your mindset, maybe personally or within business, please pop them in the chat. I will go through those, and at the relevant time, we can ask Marcus to answer them. Right. We are ready to share your screen, young man. So I'm going to do this and do this. And
thank you.
It's over to you.
Well, there you can see one of the things that I decided to tell as a news story, and that's learn to breathe fire. That's maybe for later or another day. So what I'd like to talk about initially is, as I've already said, the simple topics, stories of why you can, how the mind really works. We're going to have a snapshot of that because that would take a whole day in and of itself, but I'm just going to share some ideas that I hope spark some thoughts and imagination about the way you think and how you can make it the best way to think. I'm going to share the 10 habits of super successful people, and then of course skydiving with dolphins. As I've already said, please for now just go with me and embrace the philosophy. You are what you think about the most. You absolutely are what you think about the most. And secondly, that everything you need to be successful, to have a wonderful mindset, to excel personally and professionally is actually within you right now. Just sometimes some of us have accidentally created barriers and mental blocks and these barriers that don't let us be our best. So let me begin by sharing the stories of why you can. And I'm going to tell you 3 little stories now, 3 very short stories. Now, I promise this is meant to be motivational. Now, as I tell these stories, you'll be thinking, really? This is motivational? Bear with me, there's a happy ending. So this is 3 quick stories about, the first 3 are about 3 little boys. I'll explain why they're boys and not a mixture later. So the first thing is, boy A, he was growing up in Northern Ireland in a time they called the Troubles. This was in the 70s, late 70s. And some of you may know there were lots of bombs and stuff going on at the time. And this little boy, he had a bit of a wayward mother. She was frequently not present. He often had to get himself to school, even at sort of 6, 7 years of age. Frequently came home. Sometimes there was food, sometimes there was not. But he was essentially happy. It was kind of, he only knew this as a way of life. She was frequently absent, as in she'd go out at night. And this was more common, you'd think, back in the day. And this one particular evening, he was home alone and lived in the top of a 4-story building. There was a firebomb on the bottom ground floor, and somebody saw this. The police, the ambulance, and the army were all called out. The boy was rescued, and the army stormed in. They put him in a blanket, and he got taken into the back of an army Land Rover. So for a 7-year-old, that was really exciting. He was also taken off to the local hotel where he was given this wonderful drink, a big fresh orange juice. And on top of it was a cocktail stick in the shape of a sword. And on that were some cherries. So this little boy's takeaway was, wow, what a night. He's not thinking I've been blown up. He's thinking, I got a drink with a cocktail sword and I got these cherries. So weirdly, for that boy, this was a good takeaway. Story number 2. Story number 2 is a different boy. This boy's about 14 years of age. His mother had some challenges. She used to take a special drink out of a little can every morning. She called it tonic. And however much tonic she drank each day, she would sometimes feel really happy or really sad. The more she drank, the more happy or sad she got. Anyway, one particular day, this boy came home from school and she'd been drinking a lot of tonic that day. She was washing up and she turned to the boy and said, go and move that tent, put it in the back room. Now, this was a big tent, kind of about the size of the boy. And he had to really kind of pick it up because it was heavy and he was kind of staggering away with this tent. And he stumbled and tripped and dropped it. And she was furious, thinking it was some teenage angst. And at the time, she was washing up a big carving knife. And without thinking, she just turned and went, doing. It landed in the door just behind his head, like a cartoonesque style. Now, it was tough to get a good takeaway of that. He was millimeters away from being, slashed through the head. Promise this gets motivational.
Yeah.
It'll get better, I promise you. So, and I'll tell you why I'm linking these 3 stories together in a minute. The third of these 3 stories. Boy C, he grew up never really knowing his father or who his father was. He had rumours and various bits of confusing information, but never really knew, never really kind of cared, I guess, because what you've never had, you've never missed, as I said before. And when he was about 16, he got this amazing job for a young boy, which was working in a kind of an upmarket Curry's PC World style place, where there were loads of TVs and videos and lots of great stuff for him to learn and play with. He was assigned a mentor, someone to train him and explain to him how to kind of do the job. And this guy, funny enough, he didn't know his mother. There was like a real taboo subject. They never talked about it. And so I guess somehow this bond formed between them because of no mother and no father. And they became exceedingly good friends They'd go out for drinks and just became good pals. On the 18th birthday of boy C, he was handed an envelope by his mother, which had some newspaper cuttings inside it. And therein was lying the truth about his father. And he opened up the envelope. And he started to read with growing horror. It told the story of how his father had run away with the wife of a local pub landlord many years before, and how when they drove up the motorway, there was a crash and she was killed. He read on with even greater horror to discover that the woman in this incident was none other than the mother of his new friend and mentor. How had time and space brought these two people together in these tragic and bizarre circumstances? So why am I telling you these three stories in a motivational talk? Well, the truth is there aren't three little boys, there's one little boy, and that little boy is me. All of those things were parts of my upbringing, my childhood. And as I was getting to the age of 18, I was a happy, that's me with hair, by the way, just in case you're wondering.
Really yeah. Do you know what? CGI these days, isn't it? Hey?
Oh, no. I was genuinely, I was really happy to go bald because that hair was such a nightmare. Oh, you had to get rid of it. But the point of telling you those three stories is I was kind of okay as far as I could understand until this last event. And some really good, well-meaning people got involved, some counsellors, to tell me, oh, do you know what? What you've gone through is awful. You must feel abused, betrayed. You must feel sad and upset. And I was kind of, well, I think I'm all right. Thank you very much. You know, trouble's like anybody else, but I'm okay. No. You must feel abused. You must feel sad and let down and challenged. And so, because these were kind of grown-ups, I started to take on that story and go, yeah, I have been abused. I am angry. How dare people do this to me in life? And I morphed from a kind of happy-go-lucky guy to this angry young man who was so angry for the next few years. I got into trouble, I experienced violence and wanted to almost carry this new narrative around me. In fact, if ever I got into a situation where someone was telling a story about their childhood, I'd go, let me hear your story of your childhood. Come on, because I'm going to win. And I'd get into this ludicrous poor me story, and I won every time, and I was proud of that. But what I was doing was constantly reinforcing from my conscious to my subconscious brain a negative story about what I wasn't, what I couldn't do, and how I was wronged. And it was so bad that when I got around to the age of 30, I was diagnosed by my doctor with chronic stress. And he said, with the stress you're suffering and causing yourself, plus your lifestyle, I'll give you 18 months. Genuinely, he said, I reckon if you're lucky, you'll last 18 months. So I had a choice. What was I going to do? Did I want to live? I mean, of course I did. And I knew nothing about stress or how I was creating all this myself through this narrative. So I went out and I learned all about stress. I was so moved by what I didn't know about my mind and how I thought. I even went to university for the first time at the age of 32 to study psychology and learn about what if I could change this? What if I could tell a better story? What if I could rewrite the last 10 years and become something greater than myself? And that's what I did. That's the hopeful takeaway of this story. So I went out and did the things that I was really fearful of. I was really frightened of being in front of people, but I became a Toy Town rock star. Now, that's me, by the way, breathing fire. Those white trousers with the rips in, they've been in and out of fashion so many times it's untrue now at my age. But I went out and started to tell a new story and do things that were seemingly impossible. I was able to go out and create a better future by visualizing achievement. Here you can see quite clearly I'm Prince Charles's bodyguard. I mean, I do have, this look that if I'm not smiling, I look like either a bank robber or a bouncer. But, that was partly for me. When I was in those anger years, I kind of wanted to be, I created this persona for myself because I was hurting so much inside. I wanted to go into defensive mode. What that actually is, I was fortunate enough to be the Maritime Operations Director during the 2012 Olympics. And I got to show Charles Camilla and Lord Coe around on an event. So the takeaway for here is to say, if you change your story, because at the end of all that, I was so kind of down with where I was with stuff going wrong and my business got going well. When I rewrote the story about how I could be, the possibility of a greater future, by changing my mindset into something that I wanted, the most incredible things could happen. And that was manifest in something like that. I got to go and speak in fantastic places where I was petrified before. There's a whole section that I share with people about going from terrified to terrific. Because although I stand here loving sharing stories with people, I was so terrified back in the day of public speaking that I would fake illness. I've even faked 2 car breakdowns to get out of doing a talk or standing up in front of people. So what I told myself as a new story was super liberating. It just changed everything. And I've got to work with and speak with all sorts of interesting people. So what I'd like you to consider is, what's the story that you're telling yourself now? And is it empowering you to live the life that you really want to live? Or is it reinforcing the reasons why you can't? And if it's reinforcing the reasons why you can't, change it. Tell a new story. Literally sit down, write down, and look at all the things that are getting in your way and rewrite it, because you have that power. There's only you on this planet can decide what your story is. So if you choose it to be a different one, then you can live into it until the new version becomes a reality. Changed my life. It saved my life. I hope if you try it, it might do the same for you. Have you got any questions there, Miles, as my audience?
Well, I think everyone's been so busy listening to the story. I mean, I should have at least expected that this little boy was you. But I think that's probably down to how you tell the story. In terms of myself, I think possibly only within maybe the last 5 years or so have I really sort of embraced that, what you manifest or what you focus on becomes your reality. I think I've probably been aware of it most of my life. You sort of set yourself some sort of goals and you end up achieving them. And if you don't set yourself goals, you don't end up achieving them. But it's really sort of later in life that I've, through my work with my coach, sort of really sort of started to understand my behavior and my thoughts and how they're really sort of interlinked. So yeah, a lot of it rings true with me. There's no specific questions that have come in yet. I think Justin thought he was turning on Smashy and Nicey there, maybe with their greatest hits. Joe Renshaw's on. I think she enjoyed the introduction as well. So if anyone does have any specific questions about maybe their mindset, or maybe they've got an observation, right? Maybe that they've experienced something where they've maybe they get up in the morning and they do a little mantra. In terms of public speaking, Marcus, I've done a few bits on stage. I've done some sort of emceeing, and people, when they meet me, think I'm very sort of maybe gregarious and outward and enjoy all this sort of stuff. But I've still got the insecurities, and one of the things that I have done and do before I go on stage is, it sounds ridiculous when you say it out loud, but you look in the mirror and you say, I can do this. I can do this. I am good enough. I can do this. And it does work, because it tricks your mind, if you like, subconsciously into getting you in the right sort of mode.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing that. And this is the point. I used to think this was all a bit nonsense. Does it? It can't be. I remember, I think it was Alan Partridge many years ago. There was a bit where he was looking in the mirror, going, "You're a tiger." And I kind of like, yeah, whatever, mate.
Yeah.
It's kind of cringeworthy until I realised, hang on, everything I've ever learned, and everybody watching, everything you've learned is by repetition. From learning to walk, to learning to speak, to learning skills, whether it be a musical instrument, how to do your job, how to drive a car. You know, it goes from being something which is really challenging. And think about, for those of you who've driven, the first time you got in a car, there's all those pedals and hang on, I've got to look at that. I've got to be aware of what's going on. I've got to press this one. That one's going to come up. I've got to steer the car. One. And then also so soon, after a month or two, it becomes so natural. I'm not saying you would ever do this, but you could maybe eat a sandwich and have a really good conversation at the same time. It becomes second nature. But when you first started, it was such a mammoth thing. And so it is with everything we learn. So by saying, I can do, I can do, I can do, I am, and being that new version of yourself, say it often enough, and the new version wins. Little tip here, I was going to bring this in later, but it just depends on how we are on time. Some people are good and they do say some mantras, maybe in the morning, maybe in the evening. And that's great. It's better than not. But if you spend 98% of your day thinking about what you can't do and 2% of your day thinking about what you can do, which is going to win? So saturate yourself with the new version. I mean, absolutely live every single minute of it as you are the new version of yourself. And then you'll move into that new reality and it will become your default, the natural version of you. So,
yeah. And, you know, I think that there's a lot of debate around maybe conversations like the universe. And I know that, you know, spiritually, I can't even get my tongue around that word today. But you know, we've all got our own sort of views. My view on the universe is that, this will sound really conceited when I say this, Marcus, I think I am the universe. As in, you know, if I concentrate and think and put my mind to something, then I can achieve that. And certainly it's definitely around my mental approach, my mindset. If I do tell myself, you know, if you say you can and you say you can't, then you're going to be right. You know, it's sort of it's a really strange thing. I'm going to give one more example, if you like, that may ring true with some of the golfers that are watching. How many times have you been playing golf and you get close to the water? And, you know, you can definitely clear that water all day long. And you say in your mind, you're like, don't go in the water, don't go in the water, don't go in the water. You go in the water. And it's because your brain can't sort of determine from can and can't. All it's thinking about is the water.
Yeah, you bang on. It's the outcome it's thinking of. It's the most dominant thought that wins. And you know, I when I go through mantras and help people understand how the mindset mantras we teach them to use is the same sort of thing. If I said to everyone now, think of a big shiny red bicycle, a nice big shiny red bicycle. Most of us can picture a shiny red bicycle. If I say now, do not think anymore, stop thinking of the shiny red bicycle, you're thinking of the shiny red bicycle. The Correct. Do not doesn't have the power. And this is where you are what you think about the most. In order to not think about the shiny red bicycle, think of a blue sports car, insert make of your choice. So you have to go to what you want, not try and not think about the thing you don't want, if that makes sense.
It does. So, Marcus, I've got a question that's come in. We've got a couple of questions, which is nice. So Emma Blair is asking you, what sort of things do you do on a daily basis to improve your own mindset, Marcus? And secondly, any tips on money mindset?
Oh, yes. Well, thank you, Emma, for that question. Funny enough, I'm going to share with you the top 10 habits of people who are successful. And I now live these. These are now, and very quickly, the things that I've changed in my life are I get up and pretty much every day I have some form of physical fitness to help the physicality and flow of my body. I meditate, even if it's just for a few minutes, every single day. every single day. Okay, I might miss one day a week, but that's one of my go-tos. What I put in my body, my nutrition has changed beyond belief. I happen to have been alcohol-free for 18 months and only put good stuff, which means I've lost 2.5 stone from 2 years ago. But my aim was health, not weight, if that makes sense. And then I say my mantras every single day. I absolutely have them there. And the first thing what I do when I get up, as I'm walking to the toilet, is I am the UK's #1 mindset coach, or I am going to have a fantastic positive day and get, insert thing here, done. I'm going to have a joyous day. And I laugh at almost the ridiculousness of me saying these things out loud. And because I'm laughing, it's joyous. So those are 4 of the top things that I do, but also every other person that I've ever met or read about who's successful. Money mindset. We could do a whole section on this, because we are taught, unfortunately, by well-meaning people to have the wrong concept of money. And we'll bring this back to the universe thing in a minute. So all of you, if I can ask you I know we can't hear you, but just say out loud the ending to these sentences. Money can't buy you
love.
Thank you. Or the other thing that people say is money can't buy you
happiness.
Yeah. So at some point, well-meaning people said, yeah, money can't buy you love, money can't buy you happiness. At some point, for most of us, people have said, finish this sentence, money's the root of all
evil.
Yeah, and that's a misquote, as you may know. It's the love of money is at the root of all evil. So essentially, well-meaning people, when you're this big, have said, by the way, money, nobody will love you. You'll never be happy. In fact, you're going to be evil. So is it any wonder most of us grow up going, I kind of think I want money in my life, but I don't want to be those things. So we all have this subconscious implant of confusion around money. Can I turn that on its head? Can I suggest it is every one of you watching right now and everybody who can's absolute responsibility to generate as much wealth as is humanly possible. And the reason is because once you start to create a flow of wealth so magnificent in your life, then you can let it flow. So I have 3 tenets I teach my client, which is health for self and all, love for self and all, and abundance for self and all. Because if you create magnificent wealth, you can have an impact. Wealthy people are healthier, whether we like it or not. Forget this whole talk about there's 1% of the world with the most money. That's where we all get skewed by this. So if you were to go out and create amazing wealth and share it, give back to your communities, give back to your friends, help build new schools or ways of being so that we create this wondrous flow, you will be healthier, you'll be contributing to a greater good. And that's where we need to change the mindset around wealth. Once you realize it's okay to have abundance for self and all, that's a different ball game. So very long answers to your question, Emma, but I hope they were helpful.
Right. We do have another question from Stephen, but let's carry on with the presentation, and we will answer Stephen's question, or I will ask Stephen's question in a little bit.
Fabulous, and so we'll be touching more on that as we go. I'm going to do a quick psychology test, so please play along at home, and I'll explain what it's all about. Who doesn't love a test? Are you ready, Mike? So just kind of shake your hands, and if you're sitting down, if you're not, just sort of sit down for a second. Clasp them together and kind of relax your hands on your lap, sort of like this. And as you do so, you will probably notice your left thumb is over your right, or your right thumb is over your left, or you're doing this. So just remember whatever you did, and now do what you like with your hands. So what's that all about? Well, people watching here today are from different backgrounds, different sort of goals, aspirations, and drivers. Now, I would ask you if you're in the room to put your hand up if you're a left thumber. So I'm now talking to the left thumbers, those who put the left thumb over their right. Now, despite all the differences, if psychologists had to kind of drill right down to say which part of your brain triggered that response, and then just be given one word to describe you, they might say left thumbers are intelligent.
Oh, well, I'll take a bow.
Well, there you go. Give yourselves a round of applause.
Thank you.
Okay, so right thumbers, let's get to you guys. Now, again, you're going to be different backgrounds, different goals, drivers, and aspirations for life. But if psychologists were pushed to drill down to give you one word based on the side of your brain that put your right thumb over your left, they would say that you guys are sexy.
Oh, what the? Oh, I can't believe I picked the wrong one.
Well, let's get to that. Any of you who did this would be delighted to know that you are both intelligent and sexy in equal measure. Give yourselves a round of applause. Now, what's all this nonsense about? Is there any truth? Well, you know, there's a hint and a grain of sand of truth. But this brings us on to the next section about how your mind really works. So let me ask you a few questions. As I started to, first of all, say the word test, I think most of us go, oh, test, what's going to happen? I'm not sure I love a test. Some people do, but most of us don't. So there's a very, very low level twinge of anxiety, if you like. Then when the left thumbers were revealed as being intelligent, I think you'll agree that, as you did, Miles, like, yeah, I'll take that. I'm intelligent, thanks. So your mood, ever so slightly, went up a little bit. You maybe smiled. But the right thumbers are going, hang on, did I want to be intelligent? I think I might. Well, maybe I do want to be intelligent. What am I going to be? So their moods just went down a little bit. However, the moment we revealed that the right thumbers were indeed sexy, it's kind of like, hey, intelligence could go out the window. I'll take sexy all day long. And then the left thumbers are going, hang on a minute, I kind of liked being intelligent for a second, but now I think I might want to be sexy as well, maybe. I don't know. And
it's like I played into your hands, Marcus.
Well, do you know what? It's how we all think. All of a sudden, we're making lots of mini judgments and changing our moods ever so slightly about how we feel, just based on what I've said. And anyone who did this is going to walk around all the day going, I'm intelligent and sexy, and please do, rock it. The point is, just by sharing this information, you've instantly started telling yourselves mini stories which have made you feel in certain ways, positive and negative, just in a few seconds. So this is the snapshot of you are what you think about the most. Tell great stories, because if you believe it, it's true for most of the time. So let's move on to how the mind really works. So let's test this, because a bit like you, Miles, for years I was kind of like, is it though? Really? Does it really work this way? Well, we haven't got a lot of time, so I'll just give you two quick examples. So can I ask anyone watching who's ever thought of buying a car? It doesn't matter what it is, whatever type of car it is, you've made the decision, or you've just bought one, or you've said, right, I'm going to buy is that an orange Mini Clubman, I think it might be, or Cooper maybe. And then you go out for a drive, and the blooming car you thought about is everywhere. Have you ever experienced that? So either car manufacturers have a telepathic link and a fleet of these things to put out in front of you, or something magical happens to your brain. You've made a decision which is both important to you. For those of you who like cars, it's quite an emotional purchase. It's a relatively big purchase. So your brain feels the emotion attached to it. It hears and feels what you want. So it goes, I'll help you. Let me help you find it. Look, there's one, there's one. And you drive down the road a bit, there's one, there's one. So what's happening is your brain is being alerted and heightened to focus in on something it believes you absolutely want. And any of you who've experienced that know that to be true. It doesn't kind of matter what it is. Let's just test this theory a bit further.
Marcus, I think I read somewhere that they think that stems back to when we were hunter-gatherers and we were focused on trying to find our meal, if you like. So again, that sort of gets heightened, that you're trying to find, if you like, what you're focused on.
What do you know? What, there's a whole.
Nobody was there to justify that, but I thought I'd throw it in there.
I like that, and a lot of what we do is autonomic thinking, which was designed to keep us alive. Yeah. Which is why stress is. We'll talk about that briefly, depending on how much time we've got. However, I think you mentioned the universe. I think there's something higher at level here, because we're essentially, one thing I think we would all agree on. We're just atoms, protons, neutrons. The whole universe, as best we understand it, is all a level of energy. And when we start to be really excited, we all know that when you're in a great mood and you're really enthusiastic, you sort of almost vibrate. Literally, we say, "Hey, I'm buzzing. I'm vibrating."
Buzzing, yeah.
Yeah, we use that phrase. So what if actually what you're doing is creating a higher level of awareness and being in sync with a different frequency, tuning into a higher frequency, which gives you the things you want? What if that's it? And I prefer that a little bit. So I just tune into something that's really magnificent. But there's a whole section on that. If you want to come to the full day course, please go on my website, sign up for my newsletter, and we'll talk about that in more depth. Just like to use this as another simple example. There are 4 films. Have you seen these films, Miles?
I don't think I've seen The Notebook, but I've seen the others for sure.
Okay. So my question to the audience is, why have I brought up these 4 films? What do you think they might have in common? Obviously, Miles, I'm talking to you at this point.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm going to say emotions or...
Yeah, bang on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So quick question. How many of you watching have cried at a film? I have. Have you, Miles?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I've never cried at EastEnders.
These are 4 of the top 10 films most likely to make you cry.
Okay.
Well, let's just analyze this for a second. These particular 4 films, and I hate to maybe spoil something for you, but none of them are true. They're all made up. And most films we watch, even if they're based on a true story, we know they're made up, and we know there are actors playing a part. But we buy into the message so powerfully, it connects with us so strongly and deeply that it makes our physiology change so that our face leaks water. Just soak that up for a minute. It's so powerful. So my question to you is, if this is how the brain works, if something that's made up, not true, and we know that, is so incredible that it will change our physiology so we literally leak water, what's the true stuff doing? What are the stories that you're telling yourself? What is that really doing to you? So taking that on board, I think that's so powerful, which is why I believe it's so important we tell ourselves the best story that we can every single minute of every day. Because otherwise, if the fake stuff can make us cry, wow, what are we making fake? So I just find that really interesting.
It's definitely fascinating. And in the world of marketing, and I'm talking sort of general here, and you can do this for yourself, as a general rule of thumb, when you watch TV and you see the adverts, there are 2 different styles of adverts that you'll see. You'll see ones that are product based, where they're talking about something specific and a feature and benefit. And then there are also emotional adverts, which don't really talk about a product, but the John Lewis ads of late would be one of those where they do sort of bring emotions and bring a tear to your eye, and they're trying to connect with you on a completely different level there. So just thought I'd throw that in there. Are you ready for Stephen's question? Or
yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, Marcus. So question for Marcus in capital letters, so I suppose I should shout. Question for Marcus.
Yes.
In what ways can I acknowledge and value my accomplishments, regardless of their size, and use them as inspiration to keep moving forwards towards my objectives without being bogged down by past setbacks?
Thank you, Stephen.
Stephen Saunders.
Thank you, Stephen Saunders. The check's in the post.
He's a cheese enthusiast. I mean, he's my people.
Full disclosure, I know Steve. Steve Cheese. He's a cheesemaker from just outside Brighton. So thank you, Steve, for that. We're in a speaking club together. But a great question nonetheless. And funny enough, it's interesting because we both still go to public speaking training and try and learn all the time. Even though we're lucky enough to get paid to go and speak at places, we keep working on our techniques and go on a journey of improvement all the time. So to go back to your question, I think it's a great thing. One thing that I and your coach probably does for you, and all good coaches do, is help you celebrate your wins. How are you going to mark that event, as you say, however big or small? because it's how relevant it is to you. So for some people, just getting out of bed in the morning and getting dressed for 7 days could be a major achievement if they've got over an illness or severe anxiety or whatever. Other people, it could be, the most bizarre one was a guy who was upset because he started earning under £5 million. Most of us would, our reaction would be, seriously, what's wrong with you? But it's as important to somebody else who might be on a lower salary. So the first thing is to try and tap into the emotion. So let's just say, Stephen, you've won an award for some speaking. I'm saying that because I know he recently did. And that moment when you're presented an award, I think we can all tap into that. Hey, I'm feeling good. There's a glow that we get about us. There's the emotion. Maybe we remember the applause. Maybe we remember the moment where people come up to us afterwards and say, hey, well done for this thing. Bank it. First of all, bank it. Try and trap that moment in time in a positive way and absorb it so you can tap into it whenever you're experiencing future challenges. So really grab hold of those moments and write them all down. I get my clients to create a list called Why My Life Rocks. And in there, I ask them to list 5 to 7 personal and professional achievements they're super proud of, whether it be from when they were at school to yesterday. And get that list out every minute that you need it. If you're having a bad or a challenging day, look at them, read them, and it's so powerful. And then maybe, as you say, how do you celebrate it? Well, try and make it relative to the thing. I recently had a client who celebrated a positive step in the right direction, and they engraved a glass saying, well done for. And every time they go for a non-alcoholic drink, as it happens, they drink it in this glass, and they see the moment at which time they had that engraved to take them back to that moment. Go celebrate with a meal. Do something for somebody else is really powerful. When you're feeling amazing, whose life could you change? Who could you call and just say, I haven't spoken to you for a while. I'm in a great place right now. And I remember maybe they weren't in a good place. Mark the occasion and then bank it so you can tap into it for the future. I hope that answers your question, Steve.
I'm sure it did. The only thing I would add to that from personal experience is if you set yourself a goal and you achieve that goal, then have the reward in mind. And in the build up to achieving the goal, make sure that there's some type of visual cue within your world on a regular basis. So be it on your smartphone home screen or above your desk, a picture of whatever it is you're trying to achieve, and make sure that that thing is for you. So I don't know, maybe you've always dreamt of having a particular watch, and then if that watch is always on your arm and every time you look at the time it reminds you of when you did that achievement. Those sort of things I think really help.
Absolutely. We're depending on time. I'm going to talk about a formula which I have for people for goal setting, because for years, how many of you out there, you've kind of tried to set goals and some work, some don't, maybe don't always feel it. So I'm going to share a quick formula with you later about how you...
I'm going to say we've definitely got time, Marcus. There's still lots of people online live, and everyone seems to be saying that they're enjoying things.
Fabulous.
Annette, Stephen, Radka, they're all saying that they're enjoying things. So let's crack on.
Why is there a genie in a Swiss flag? I hear you cry. I just came up with this theory that you are what you think about the most, as I've said many times. And I started to see my brain as a genie because it does grant your wishes. If you give it the powerful enough message, it is there. It's almost like this joyous puppy within inside you that once you give it a powerful enough message, it will go out and try and help you, a bit like the car or whatever it might be. The reason it's Swiss is because it's completely neutral. It doesn't differentiate between good and bad. So if you have a bad habit and you think about it a lot, your brain thinks, yeah, I'll help you. I used to drink phenomenal amounts of alcohol. I was an amateur alcoholic for years. And I would often think, I can't wait to go and have a beer because it's business and loads of other things. And my brain would be like, yeah, I've got your back. I will get you there. Or reasons not to go to the gym and all that sort of thing. The day I switched it to more positive outcomes, guess what? I've just completed my first 18 months of going to a gym at my age. I've got my first blooming abs. Story for another day. I thought it was a hernia. Seriously.
Oh, come on. We said we weren't going to tell any lies on this show, Marcus.
Oh, come on, for another day. I couldn't believe it.
Prove it.
Oh, no, not nice. When they're really done. Anyway, that's for another day. So my point is, if you think of your brain as a Swiss genie, it's going to grant you your wishes, but it's entirely neutral. So make sure you give it clear, positive instructions. So let's go through the 10 habits of highly successful people. So what do I base this on, first of all? I have worked with more people than I care to remember. So I always ask people, what are your daily routines and habits? Emma asked that great question earlier. I then read a fantastic book, if any of you care to get it, called Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss. And this is essentially hundreds of interviews where he asks famous people, successful people from all backgrounds, what are their daily routines and habits? And there are roughly 4 that every single one of them in the book has, and then there are about another 6 that most of them, if not 90% of them, have. So here's the thought, and these are truly holistically successful people. So not just financially, but they're adding value to themselves, they like themselves, they love themselves, they're adding value to the world, they're creating either great content, which might be musical or new companies. So it's a true definition that I think of success. So what are they? Well, the number one thing, as you can see there, is the right attitude. They don't come along with why not. They only come along with ways of how can I make this work? So if something doesn't happen or it doesn't go right, they've just learned a lesson and they move on to, I'll do it better next time. I think one of Einstein's quotes is, I never get anything wrong. I just learn from an experience and do it better next time. And that is the attitude that highly successful people have. It's a small difference, but just by deciding, if we go, oh yeah, that thing went wrong, and then we go and tell everybody else, oh God, this whole thing didn't do that. And can I tell you about so-and-so? They're a bit like this and they're a bit like that, and gossip about other people. Nah, successful people don't care. They have no interest in that. They just come along with what's the best outcome I can have? How am I adding value to my life and everybody around me? That is the right attitude. Bring that with you every time. You will only go in the right direction. Which was not that way, so we'll go this way. Now, business people and most people in life, they really have a plan. I'm always fascinated by how many businesses do not have a plan at all, or how many people don't have a plan for their life. You know, it's incredible that, you know, if I was to say to you, hey, sort me out a holiday. Go on, Miles, please go and sort me out a holiday right now. Can you go get me a holiday, please?
Well, yeah, because where do you want to go, right?
I don't know.
How much have you got to spend?
I don't know.
How many of you are going?
I don't know.
When do you want to go?
I've got a plan. It's such a simple thing. The first thing you need to know is where you're going, why, and do you really want to get there? Mm-hmm. And everybody else, or so many of us, should I say, doesn't have a plan. So if you haven't got a plan for life and you haven't got a plan for your business, then how are you going to get there? I did a talk at RBS in Liverpool Street, and there were about 120-ish businesses there. And I asked the question, I said, hey, it was all kind of a rah-rah day. And in my session, how many of you got a business plan? And nearly everyone put their hand up. And I said, how many people have you checked your performance against it on a regular basis? And about half the room put their hand up. I looked at them and I said, look, I'm doing this with love. Can I ask you to help everyone in this room by being really honest? How many of you have really got a business plan you're vaguely proud of? About 10 hands went up. And I said, and do any of you check your progress against it? And 1 hand up went up. And I said, do you mind sharing what you do and how it's going? And this guy just got up, why his business was growing, what he was checking, where his goals were, and all the businesses with a plan are more successful. It's not difficult because your brain knows where you want to go. Your Swiss genie's on board and will help you go in that direction. So if you haven't got a plan, get one. Make it simple.
And Marcus, I'm going to jump in and say, share it with everyone within your organization, because, you know, the more you share it, the more likely you are to hit your goals.
Absolutely. Yeah. And ask for help because, you know, the plan will change. I was my first lecture at Brighton University this morning, which was lovely. And somebody said to me, "Oh yeah, but if you've got a plan, stuff changes." I'm like, "Yeah, of course it is."
Yep.
If you put a destination in your sat nav, I want to drive to Glasgow right now, chances are there'll be some traffic, there might even be some road closures, and you'll have to change direction. But we'll get there, and that's what a plan is. It's
so
core of the planning.
That question being asked, that's an example of the education system and the way it's currently structured, where there's only like a right and a wrong, there's only one right answer to these things, where actually what you find in business, there's loads of right answers.
Yeah. One of the interesting things is so many people that I talk to at the moment, before lockdown, people were generally maybe a bit time poor, probably wanted to make a bit more profit, and a bit stressed. That tends to be a common thing with business owners. Since lockdown, one of the biggest changes is either helping people fall in love with their business all over again, or do something completely different. Because now so many people were pushing in a direction they were never going to be successful with their plan, because it wasn't the direction they ever wanted to go in. It was so many other people's ideas, which we'll come to in goal setting in a minute.
I'm gonna keep quiet, because I would like us to wrap up within an hour if we can, because I think that's what people are.
Okay, I'll push on, because that's the thing. I could be here all day. We've talked about setting the right goals. Are you setting the goal that's yours? We don't all have to have the Ferrari or climb Everest, because so many people are setting someone else's goals. As we grow up, well-meaning parents, friends, peers say, "Oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that." And you're like, "Yeah, okay, I suppose so." Excuse me. Before you really get into your goals, check they're yours. I mean, just take a step back. And so often I will be interviewing a client, one of the first sessions, and I ask them about the goals, and I'll go, "Oh yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that." I go, "Anything else?" "Yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that." And then I'll go, "Really? Is there anything else?" And then they'll go, "Well, do you know what? I've always wanted to." And there's the first goal.
That's the one. Yeah.
There's the first goal. There's the first real goal. Because unless you love it and it lights up your face, it's not really a goal. It's just a thing you got to get done. So the number one thing about setting goals is set the right goals, set yours. Then there's a process. SFB equals A squared. How sexy is that for a formula? I'll say it again. SFB equals A squared. Contact me via the website after the meeting, and I'll give you some stuff on this. But quite simply, unless you adopt that process, I think it's really hard to get your goals. It means see it, feel it, believe it, and then you will achieve your goals out of the park. So quite simply, if you can't see it, if you haven't got a really clear vision of you in the future you, then keep going until you have, until you've got that real thing, whether it be a house or a way of being or overcoming a challenge. Create the vision, that really powerful picture, an image, or a mini video in your mind of what the outcome is. So if it was a weight goal is an easy one to do. Picture yourself the new version. Maybe make some pictures, do some fake photoshops, so you look and you've got something to aspire to. So your brain, your Swiss genie, is like, yeah, okay, I know where you want to go. Now that's the step one, but often it's not enough. The second step is feel it. Attach a really good positive emotion so that you want to do all the things you need to do to get there. Because if it's hard, you ain't going to do it. So until you attach that positive emotion, for example, if it was a weight goal, my trousers aren't too tight anymore, big one for me. Or I like walking down the beach. I don't feel self-conscious because I'm the shape I want to be.
Because you got them abs. Come on, Marcus. People are texting me and they're saying, when are we going to find out about skydiving with dolphins?
What's that all about? Well, funny enough, actually, we'll mention it right now, because this is the thing. When I was goal setting and when I talk to so many people, their goals are often maybe after a few years or middle of their life is quite a common one. They think, oh God, there must be more to life. I must have better goals. I know what, I'll go skydiving. So they go and rent a plane and they go skydiving. Or they go, I want to go swimming with dolphins. Now, both of those things are joyous and wonderful things to do. But a week after you've done them, the feeling's gone. The feeling's faded. Skydiving with dolphins is a thing to have on your bucket list. But everything you need is within you right now in terms of changing that feeling about whether you feel fulfilled and accomplished. So do those miracle things, and I'll tell you at the end whether or not we went skydiving with dolphins. It's just that approach to goal setting. Make sure it's something that's really real for you. Feel it and believe it, by the way. Believe it. You've got to believe the goal is attainable. And if you don't believe it, you've got to retrain your brain powerfully enough through mindset mantras to say, yeah, I am, I can, I will. I am, I can, I will. I am, I can, I will, until it becomes a reality. And in this slightly longer course, we tell people how to write those mantras, because a lot of people write the wrong mantras, and so they're unhelpful. But, we'll be here all day if I go into that. Let me just go through the things.
Number 4.
Yeah, number 4. So visualization. If you haven't got a vision of what you want in the future, how are you going to get there? Arnold Schwarzenegger, there's a great story about him, how he was, became the world's greatest bodybuilder, and he was being interviewed by a New York Times journalist, and he's not the most eloquent of people then, and he said he wanted to be the world's highest paid actor, and the guy had to stifle a laugh. He didn't want to be rude. He's thinking, really, Mr. Schwarzenegger, you're a bit of a meathead, I think, and I can't always understand very clearly what you're saying. How, Mr. Schwarzenegger, are you going to be the world's greatest actor? And Arnie looked him in the eye and said, I'm going to do exactly the same as I did to become the world's greatest bodybuilder. I'm going to create an image of the future me, of how I stand, of how I look, how other people look at me, and how I talk. And I'm going to do something every day until that vision becomes a reality. And we know the rest. And he made it believable, because he knew he's maybe never going to be the best actor ever, but he was certainly became the highest paid actor ever. Everyone I've ever spoken to or met who's been successful has a vision of their future. So make sure you have this amazing vision. Successful people, they rarely procrastinate. They do the thing that needs doing first. They are proactive. Again, if you procrastinate, I've got some videos on my website which you can have a look at to help you. This is perhaps more useful. This simple difference. People who want to get stuff done, they do the hardest thing first. If you've got to ring the grumpy client or tackle that file or do your expenses, do it the first thing in the day. Make it the first job, because it's never as challenging as you think. How many of you put off a job thinking, oh my God, I can't get around to that. And then you start it, you go, what's to worry about? Even the tax return.
And actually, it increases your mood for the day. It makes you feel good about yourself because you got that hard task done.
Absolutely. You fly through everything else. Your mental CPU, if you like your computer, if you put too many tasks on at the time, it's draining, chugging away all day. If you clear the difficult task first, we all fly. Here's the other things, going back to Emma's question, level of fitness. If you don't have some sort of physical exercise or routine in your life, please get one, because it changes your flow. No matter where you are in life's journey right now, even if it's just stretching every morning for a few minutes, then it will add a positive impact. I've never met a successful person who doesn't have that. Nutrition, as I said, jump forward there. If you fill this amazing body with quality stuff, guess what? It will function really well. If you fill it full of rubbish, it'll still function, but not as well. Things that poison your system, drink as much as you like. But if it's making your system bad, drink less, not at all. Let's go the right way. Excuse me.
Do you know your left from your right?
I forgot to write it on. That's the problem. Look, let me say it.
Love it.
This one is the biggie. The next two are the most important. If you do nothing else, take time to relax. It's counterintuitive for so many people. You think, hey, I've got a busy life, I'm time poor, I haven't got time to do this. Why would I do some meditation or guided relaxations? Because it will change your life, maybe save your life. Save my life. By taking some slow, deep breaths and trying to clear some of the noise from your mind, there are so many benefits. And look at it this way. If every successful and happy person on the planet does this to some degree or other, guess what? If you did it, what could possibly happen? You might just move into a more joyous, happier, balanced and calm place. And when we're calm, we make better decisions. Calm is smooth, smooth is fast. Great phrase. I love that. I'm going to say it again. Calm is smooth and smooth is fast. Again, on my website, my YouTube channel, there's stuff to get you started there, but seek out anybody's because it will really change you. And the last thing, the top 10 habits, they all program their minds with the outcome they want, not what they don't want, all day, every day. They make lists. They decide, I am going to be this. I am going to have this outcome. I am this future version of myself. And they take steps to mentally do it up here, so it goes from the conscious into our subconscious and then becomes a reality in the world out there. Because I believe, as you mentioned, the universe is listening. It's feeling a frequency, because why is it that people who focus on this stuff, almost everything falls into their lap? I don't think it's any coincidence. No. So to round up, and before we get to the questions, I won't do the Harvard story, do that another day. The stress piece is crucial. If you don't do something to lower your stress and manage it, then all of the rest is a challenge. Just start there, because stress is not what happens to us. It's our response to what happens. And the joy of that is that a response is something we can choose. I had to learn that lesson the hard way. I was causing my own stress. You're causing your own stress. I don't care what you think it is. Only you're the only person on your planet that is making you stressed. And again, I'll be happy to talk to anyone who's got real stress challenges right now. We can flip that in almost minutes, but that's for another day. So you've already said this. 2 quotes I'd like to leave you with. If a thing is humanly possible, consider it within your reach. I love this quote, and it's over 2,000 years old. There's nothing new. This was Marcus Aurelius. He happened to be one of the most successful Roman emperors of all time on every level. And of course, the one you quoted, Miles, if you think you can or you think you can't, you are absolutely right.
Henry's got a few quotes, hasn't he?
He has, bless him. He has indeed.
It's
like there it is.
Around. Look at that.
So I thought I'd been really clever. I thought skydiving with dolphins, when I first thought of this some years ago, no one's going to have thought of this as a concept. So I went on Google, and here we go.
There we are.
Skydiving with dolphins is a real thing.
I'm gonna say that, and you can quote me on this, that there's no idea that's a new idea, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, Marcus, look, I'm going to say people haven't asked that many questions because you've very eloquently answered them and explained it all very, very well today. To me, it's obvious that this is part of a much wider piece of work and a larger presentation. But you've spoken a lot about sort of spirituality, yoga, mindset, and I know that's where you come from. And if I hadn't met you in the flesh, perhaps I'd think that you were, a little bit of a tree hugger. But
I'll hug a tree.
I don't want to offend anyone that enjoys hugging trees. What I'm trying to say is that you do live in the real world, and you've got some really good practical advice for people to implement. So I would encourage everyone to sort of reach out and engage with Marcus. And a lot of people as well, I'm going to say, maybe they're watching this and watching it on catch up, perhaps they'll feel like they don't want to share some of their questions publicly. And by all means, I think we encourage people to get in touch with Marcus privately, where I'm sure you'd be happy to try and answer their questions.
Absolutely. Just go on my website. I'll be delighted. And the whole spirituality piece, that's a whole new dimension, which is I've tussled with for so long. I now have a project, you can just see it there, called Ciola, which is simply to create a million marvelous mindsets and make spirituality as okay to talk about as every other aspect of business. I'm doing it from a perspective free from religion or dogma. So, if you have a religion, great, that's fine. But the platform from which I want to do it is pure spirituality at a quantum level, where we're all wondrous human beings, where the more we talk about love and joy and helping other people, that just resonates, I hope. So please get in touch with me via the website. I've got some events, exciting events coming up. If you sign up to my newsletter, you'll hear about those. And if there's anything I can do to help you on your journey, then follow up. All my details are on my website.
And obviously connect on LinkedIn. We've held a large number of people captive for the last hour, down to your excellent presentation, Marcus. So thank you very much indeed, sir. And I'm going to say that there are no more questions coming through. I think we've answered them all. I did put a link in the chat to the book that you talked about, the Titans book. There's a link there. Yeah. And then Daniel has actually put a link to another book, a self-help book. So maybe check that out as well on Amazon, but there are other platforms available. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can support independent bookshops, that's great. But obviously, wherever.
Absolutely.
And I just really appreciate everyone for turning up, staying. I hope it's value. We can change the world by just being more positive, more loving. Communicate this message more and more, because this is the truth of what's going on within us. There is so much love, joy, and wonder, and of course, the noise of the media is trying to distract us from that. So thank you so much for coming, and Miles, thank you for giving me this opportunity and this platform.
Power to the people, for those that are old enough.
You want the best solution? Join the revolution.
Marcus, thank you so much indeed. Thank you everybody for watching. I didn't mention that we had Matt Davis Seggs has come on to say hello to us as well. So hi Matt, thank you very much indeed for watching. Thanks to all those that are lurking in the background, all those that are on catch up. By all means, please get in touch if you need to get involved. Marcus, thank you very much indeed. Everybody have a fantastic day. And for now, ta-ta.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you so much indeed for listening to this bite-sized podcast. If you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to contact me. You can email me on miles@milesmarketing, all one word, .co.uk. Or why don't you send me an inappropriate GIF? You can do that on WhatsApp. It's +44 754 069 5785. And however you get in touch, please do let me know what you think of the podcast. Let me know if you put any of these tips into action and what the outcome was. So I hope you have enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.